My name is Dave Goutor. I am the professor of Labor Studies 1A3, which is the Introduction to the Canadian Labour Movement. I've been teaching this course for 4 years now. Next year will be my 5th year. The course is essentially an introduction to the labor movement and a lot of the issues that it addressed. It looks at the working class, industrial developments, and economics in general from a labor perspective. Those are the types of issues that are in the course. In terms of the format, it's 2 hours of lecture, which are supplemented with visuals I put on the screen, outlines and so forth, and an hour each week of tutorial. So you get a lot of exposure to political history, you get a lot of exposure to economic history, business history, industrial relations from a labor perspective. My style in terms of teaching is to engage students as much as possible in the talking aspect, and particularly so that they get some training in taking notes from what they hear rather than having all of the notes handed to them. I do have very detailed outlines so that they can follow along and they don't get lost while I just converse at the front of the room. But there's an element of skills building that I think is very important, especially in first-year courses. So as one of my professors once said, if you come out of university without needing to be spoon-fed, a lot of the time you are at a big advantage. And I try to encourage that right from the beginning of my courses. There's a written component to the course. There are 2 essays we usually do. One is an exercise in helping you to understand the readings and read critically and write about and look at how the research has been done, and writing about what you think of a particular piece of writing. The second one is more broad-based, so you get a chance to do some skills development as well as explore other issues. And then, of course, there's a final exam. In terms of what to expect from labor studies in this course and others, it's, I think, one of the things that a lot of students have said they liked the most and was one of the biggest assets of the program, this course included, is it's a combination of a lot of very rigorous academic study of a particular issue, looking at labor. So there's a lot of theory, there's a lot of history, there's a lot of knowledge to be gained in those areas. In later courses, labor law and methods and theory are some of the ones that I teach. Introduction to unions and health and safety are some of the other courses. And so there's that aspect, but there's also a practical element too. There's a placement course in the 4th year level, and even in the 1A class and some of the other 1st year classes, there's an introduction to how things are made, a lot of the basics in labor relations, and as I mentioned, policy and law and stuff like that. So there's a combination of the academic and the practical as well. And of course the other thing, and I think is particularly noteworthy at this point, is these are subjects that are becoming increasingly pressing given the economic problems that we're facing and a lot of the other labor issues, ranging from bailouts to the auto industry to declining standards of living and so forth. In terms of my own interests and some of the reasons why I'm so committed to this, labor issues are some of the biggest issues in society. They don't always get the attention that they deserve. But of course, in recent months, that has been changing, and I think that's going to change even more. I think that labor issues are going to be at the forefront of debates for some time to come. And what particularly, not just this course, but other courses in labor studies do, is equip you to understand those discussions. And not just the terms of the debate, but the specific policies, the specific institutions involved, and so forth. Those are the things on the teaching level that I'm most interested in. On the research level, and this comes into my teaching, I study labor and their views particularly on immigration. Immigration historically going back to the 1870s up to the Depression. Now I'm looking more at the 1940s. And that particularly is interesting to me because it combines a lot of global aspects to workers' experiences and debates about policy and debates about economic development and so forth, with issues of ethnicity and race. And the labor movement, of course, too. And I teach some of that as well. One of the 4th year courses I teach is on comparative migratory labor systems, and there is an emphasis increasingly in this program on that as well. So it's equipping students to think about all of those types of things, and combining issues in different ways is what I find particularly interesting, and comes out in this course and other courses in this program.